Welcome back to the Cardano Source podcast. I'm your host, Blaine Edwards, and today we're joined by Mercy, Steve, Sidney, and Genty from the West Africa Decentralized Alliance, aka WADA, a project which aims to connect West African developers and entrepreneurs to the Cardano ecosystem. So thanks everyone for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
No worries at all. As mentioned earlier, this is my first podcast with multiple guests, so it feels like a bit of a party at the moment. So it's got to be a fun one, I think.
Yeah, parties are good.
The parties are good. All righty, so let's kick things off. Well, since we've got the four of you, can we do a brief introduction on who you guys are and what you do? So maybe we could start with Mercy first.
Sure. So my name is Mercy. I am in charge of coordination in WADA.
Coordination on WADA. Okay.
Yeah.
Sidney?
Sure. Yeah. So name's Sidney Nicholas. I am managing projects in WADA, so and helping out in other various ways. Yeah. And my background is in tech and, of course, learning a lot about crypto. So, yeah.
Okay. Steve, and then we'll go Genty.
I'm Steve Lockhart. I've been part of the WADA team since we went into the Fund 4 proposal process. So we, I don't know, they asked me to join and I was very honored, and so I did. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm here, I guess.
All right, cool. And Genty?
Also with WADA since Fund 4.
Fund 4.
We got the pleasure of being funded for one of our projects, and within WADA, also help establish hubs in the Central Africa region, in particular in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Okay, cool. Alrighty, so thanks for the intros. Now let's do a little intro on the project. So what is WADA, and what was the inspiration behind creating a project like this? Who would like to take that one?
Mercy, jump in there. Yeah, that's your world.
Okay.
What was the inspiration? Yeah.
Okay. So I have been in Cardano world since very late 2017, 2018, and we all know how Charles is able to articulate what the whole blockchain world is, and the problems that Cardano in particular can solve. And sometimes he's talking about Ethiopia, and he's talking about Nigeria, and he's getting closer and closer to Ghana, and it's like, okay, yeah, this thing is coming, it's good for Africa, and it will get to Ghana. But as time went on, I began to realize that, this thing has to be done by us. There's just so much to be done that this is not something that IOG can do, or, any one entity can do. So a few of us got together, and then we formed WADA. Obviously, last year when Project Catalyst came into being, that was a big impetus for us, because we're able to put our thoughts on paper, and we're able to present that for funding. Even though it took quite a few funding rounds for us to actually get any funding, it did help us to see that this dream was possible. Just the articulation and just sharing that and bringing people in just made us see that this is something that can be done. And, looking at Africa, there was one time that I said that blockchain was actually made for Africa, and it is made for Africa in terms of all the things that we are seeing WADA able to do.
Okay, so you said this is kind of a good use case for Africa. So could you elaborate a little bit on that? So why is blockchain, crypto, and decentralization, why is that an important thing for, obviously I think it's an important thing for the world, but considering your focus is on West Africa, why do you think all this new technology is important for Africa? Anyone?
So I would just or should I just hand it over? So he said anyone, guys.
Oh,
Maybe
anyone.
Sidney or Genty.
We could treat it just like
a Genty question there too. Yeah.
I can contribute.
Yeah.
Yes.
First of all, for Africa, for me, I joined, for example, Cardano and also WADA. As Mercy said, this cannot be done by an organization. All the participants, all the activities are better when they are originating from the roots. So the same way Mercy was saying that they were talking about Ethiopia, Nigeria, and she felt the need to push it into Ghana. The same way I also looked at it and say, I'm going to contribute and make it happen also for the Congo, because we can help. Basically, we can give ourselves and push it. And in my case, the blockchain, it's a new technology. And I think for Africa, I just feel like we cannot miss this opportunity. Like the means to catch up, if you will, is that you can only catch up if you take the next wave. So we are going to target all the waves that are coming. And the blockchain, what I like about it is that there has been a lot of failures in terms of political organization, economic organization, even financial organizations. So the economic system in the world has set up Africa in a position which is not very favorable. And in my studies as an economist, one of the first principles they had been telling me to look for was that capital will always go where it is scarce. And I didn't see that happen in all my studies. So I ended up looking at it as if this is a problem of structure. It's not really that Africa is not attractive. It's only that it's just on an island and nobody can reach that island. And if the blockchain can free people's distances, get somebody in Philippines to invest in Africa without looking too far as to where the location is, I've thought that kind of technology can actually break that gap, because then there is nobody in between. You just want to take the best opportunity you can get, and Africa can showcase it on the blockchain. For me, it was a no-brainer. We had to push for it.
From like a market's perspective, there's like a disconnect between parts of the world and other parts of the world, and maybe blockchain is a tool to help bridge those gaps.
Yeah, very much so. In terms of financial transactions, we know that there is a lot of money that, for example, come out of Africa. But when you want to send money in Africa, the cost, the fees, the transfer fees, the World Bank had been writing reports as to how much money people who want to send money to Africa are losing just for the transactions. Mm-hmm. So that middleman alone, if we get rid of that middleman, those are billions of dollars that get to the pocket of the beneficiaries. And let alone that, once we open up that path, then the whole risky assets, like emerging market, are always risky. But Africa is kind of especially risky place in some minds. So when the blockchain makes it blind, then the people are going to feel the risk by the rewards.
Mm-hmm. I love when you mentioned trying to catch the next wave, because in a sense, that's what I'm trying to do, and what a lot of people are trying to do. They foresee as this being like a world-changing technology. But in terms of waves, this is probably the biggest wave we've seen in a very long time. So we're quickly learning how to surf, I guess. The better we can surf the wave, the better. So we've touched on a couple of problems and like opportunities, I guess. Could you elaborate a bit more on what WADA is, how WADA is aiming to address some of these problems? Like, what are some ways that WADA specifically is trying to tackle some of these and take advantage of some of these opportunities?
I'll go ahead and jump in there. Basically, you can look at it as I mean, this word is thrown around a lot, but a DAO, mm-hmm. which is a decentralized autonomous organization. So basically, in short, what we're looking to do is connect people who have challenges that they want to solve with people who can help them solve those challenges, whether that happens on the continent or just within the continent, or whether it happens from assistance outside the continent. And then there's also this component of the diaspora, which I'm in the diaspora outside of Detroit, Michigan, and connecting specifically African Americans in the US to the continent as well, because it's a huge opportunity. And in this country, opportunity has been in short order at some level. and it's an opportunity for an emerging economy or to participate in an emerging economy, both on the continent and then also with crypto.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. And so on your Twitter, one thing I really like is it says we add to multiply. Can anyone speak to the meaning behind that? Because I'm sure there's some meaning behind that and why you think it's important, because it made the Twitter description, the Twitter bio. So there must be some meaning for that, because it's a cool quote, and I think at a glance we all can know what that means. But where did that originate from? We add to multiply.
So that actually came from our team from Cameroon. So we have our tech lead, Manfo, and Megan. They're currently in Cameroon. And when they joined us in Fund 4, that's what they brought, you know. We add to multiply. And at that time, it just showed so much how networking and partnerships, you know, how beneficial it is. Because sometimes, you know, like in our minds, we just think that, oh, you know, like I've made a friend, his name is Steve. But then, you know, it's just his whole network, right, that he brings. So it's not just a Steve, it's him and all the connections that he brings. And for us, what it means for us in WADA, and that's what Sidney is trying to explain in terms of, you know, like sometimes we really don't know what to call it. You know, like what is this thing called? Is it a DAO? You know, what is it called? But it's basically that resource sharing. You know, it becomes a network whereby as we add and as we bring in people, we become bigger, so to speak. So yeah, basically that's why we love that saying so much, in terms of, you know, bringing more people and then, you know, sort of becoming more. It's a bit like Ubuntu, right? You are because I am, and we become more because we are together. It's just that connection. Yeah,
we're definitely stronger together. And in a way, it kind of reminds me of the quote on Import Output's Twitter, where it says cascading disruption. Like in a way, that's kind of similar. Like with when you add people together, that multiplies that cascading effect. So we're talking about kind of networking and bringing people together and collaborating and then kind of combining our forces towards a common goal. What are some, like, the progress that you've made so far on this project? Like, how many people have come on board to help? Have there been hubs kind of established throughout West Africa? What are some kind of some victories that you've had in the project so far?
Michelle, you go ahead and jump in it. Yeah,
Steve, do you want to give it a go?
Sure. You know, since I got to know Mercy first, you know, through Cardano's Telegram groups, that's really exploded. You know, like we started talking with one another in November, I think, and over December and January, you know, I really, what I love about this, you know, WADA and what we're trying to do here is that it's kind of like some of the seminal athletes that I've watched through my life, you know, like Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods. You know, like early in their careers, everybody recognizes how great they are, but they've got like weaknesses. You know, like when people said to his face that Michael Jordan had problems with defense, it pissed him off. You know, and he turned what everybody considered a disadvantage into an advantage, and to the point that, you know, he was repeatedly named the Defensive Player of the Year. And Tiger Woods kind of went through the same evolution in being a great golfer at the beginning and just getting more and more accomplished at it. And, you know, like to reference what Genty said a little while ago, you know, Africa is in the situation that it's in because of this label and treatment of being a developing area of the world. And what that's kind of done is left Africa and us with the opportunity to like take that disadvantage and really turn it into an advantage, right? In that, because nobody gave it real care and nurturing, you know, after the colonial era, you know, we don't have in Africa all of these legacy structures that Europe and North America labor under, right? You know, like there's no way to affect real change because of the systems that we have in these areas of the world that are supposedly developed. And so in Africa, what we can do is kind of leapfrog them, right? By taking blockchain technology and networking effect, right? There's so many things that have been studied over the last 30 years that we know how things work. We've been able to map things mathematically and map growth in certain areas of industry and populations so that we know exactly what happens with network effect, right? And so, and just since January, you know, WADA's grown from being Mercy and the group that we have in Nigeria to 6 countries on this Fund 5 proposal, which we wrote. I mean, when was that? We wrote that in March. We've been waiting on the catalyst process. And in that time, you know, we've got like 3 more countries that are going to be joining the WADA Alliance by the time, you know, Fund 5 actually gets done. So we're witnessing, you know, that academically described and mathematically verified network effect. We're seeing it happen right now with all the people that we know, right? And so we're kind of like busting out at the seams. And I think that, you know, what's so cool about Cardano and the Catalyst project is that we have this mechanism as Cardano holders, right, to fund as a community exactly the plan, you know, to build out Africa. And so that's I think that that's what WADA is representing to the whole Cardano community. Is like, hey, this is actually why you invested in Cardano, and this is a team that's actually self-organized and is experiencing network level growth, you know, while we wait on the process itself, you know. And so we can hit the ground running, but we've got to deal with infrastructure issues, right, which were known from the very beginning. And that, you know, all of our colleagues that are part of this alliance in Africa, we can't talk to them. That's why they're not here talking to you, and you're talking to some white dude from Alabama, right? Yeah. We can't get them on a video call, right? And they're the ones on the ground that are actually doing this. And so they need that internet connection to be able to collaborate effectively with one another, but also to actually get involved in the Cardano blockchain protocol and run stake pools for themselves. You know? And so that's why we're here.
Yeah, it's the access part is big. Like the big problem is just not having access to these tools, these platforms that everyone else has access to. And considering we're now working as kind of a global society, everyone's we can trade with most people around the world. If you don't have that access, and that access comes through the internet, and you need some device to interface with that internet, and hopefully World Mobile can help remedy that particular problem. But once we solve that connection problem, the access problem, then we're at this base level playing field where we can all talk to each other, we can trade with each other, we can help each other, we can do all of this. But in order to get there, we need access, we need connectivity, and blockchain hopefully can help with that particular problem. I love how you talk about Michael Jordan, because I love sport. My sport's actually rugby, but I know who Michael Jordan is, and I like that comparison to Michael Jordan. And it made me think of, because blockchain and crypto is still very, very new, considering where it can be in the future. Kind of reminded me of where Michael Jordan, I'm pretty sure in high school, he got booted off his basketball team, didn't he?
Yeah, sure did.
I feel like we're there at the moment. We're crypto as a movement, as Michael Jordan being booted off the, we're kind of at that stage where, like, we're like, a lot of people are trying to boot us off the team,
Right.
but give us a bit of time and we'll be the greatest basketball player in history. You mentioned Fund 5. Do you want to speak about some of those proposals and what those proposals are, maybe how much the resources that you're seeking, the amount of money that you're seeking, and ultimately what the plan is to use that money and all of that?
So our main proposal in Fund 5 is planting roots in Africa. And it's in the Grow Africa, Grow Cardano category. It was a community suggested challenge. I don't know how much you know about these community challenges that was put forth in Fund 3. Actually, Steve was a co-proposer in that for that particular challenge, and the Cardano community said, yeah, actually we want to grow Africa because we want to grow Cardano. So that's one of the reasons, one of the many reasons that we got even closer to Steve to sort of help us to be true to the spirit of that particular proposal. But basically, as you so beautifully said, Blaine, in terms of what our mission is, it's all about connecting, devs and entrepreneurs to the Cardano ecosystem and also to DLT in general. And we do that through education, we do that through infrastructure and also dApp creation and automation. As Steve has already said, a big part of to be able to make this possible for the devs to be able to access, say, the Cardano Foundation recently developed portal, to be able to mint NFTs, to be able to start developing dApps, it all goes down to being able to have the access, constant electricity and constant, near constant internet. So that's what we are trying to do. So in addition to sort of looking out for maybe the big players and how that could work out, we are also looking at on the ground, what are the steps that we can take? And these are the hubs that we are actually creating or helping to establish on the ground, not just in West Africa, but very rapidly. It's actually, Genty here is already in Central Africa, and we're going to Eastern and Southern Africa. So I think that that's the main proposal that we want to talk about, because we are really very passionate about that particular proposal, because in a way, we feel that without that proposal going through, it might be difficult for us to do all the other proposals, not just even our own proposals, but our partner proposals. The total funding that we're asking for that is big. It's almost half of that category is budget. So it's we're asking, I think, 115 or 20 K. Yeah. So, but the reason that we think that we need to do this and do it now is that we do have to open the access and start training people that are close to the problem and that can start developing solutions to the problem.
Yeah, I would like to just kind of jump in here and kind of point out the fact, we've got Senegal, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, Democratic Republic of the Congo, right? And they all kind of are in similar situations, but those are all really unique communities. And they all kind of need to go through the same process, right? In that they all need to communicate to the people who don't know anything about Cardano and blockchain, right? And they're going to run into different types of people in each one of those countries. And that will inform, one country's experience will inform another country's experience. And we've got different, like in Ghana and Ivory Coast, we've got like university level people that are working with those hubs. And, in the other countries, we've got real business people working in those hubs. And, in a couple of the other countries, we've got real people working in agriculture. And so we can kind of shortcut every individual hub's process by taking this combined experience as we educate our local communities and deal with the business people that the hubs want to deal with, as well as the government people, because everything's kind of got in a similar state, but we have individual processes that we have to go through. And so we need to be able to inform one another, you know, so that each country has a rounded product to offer, you know, whether that's education or actual engaging with business.
All right. So when you're doing these negotiations with different countries, once you set up one hub, when you're doing these negotiations somewhere else, you can reference that first hub, and then you can be like, you use it like as an example. So
that's a resource,
as a resource. So in that sense, probably the first couple are going to be the first few are going to be the hardest, but then everyone thereafter is going to be easier and easier and easier, because you'll have this evidence here. You'll have this reference point where that will help in the negotiations. You can be like, we should build this here because of XYZ, and here's the proof. So the initial stages are probably like in everything, really. The first ones are always going to be the hardest, getting it off the ground, and then you build up momentum, and then it becomes a bit easier after that. Yeah, go ahead.
So Blaine, just to quickly clarify, we already have the hub in Ghana in terms of the people and the connections in Ghana and in Cameroon, as well as in Nigeria. We also partnering with ABCD. They are a partner in Nigeria, and we do have a WADA own hub as well. Also in Ivory Coast. So there's already quite a bit of activity on the ground. The only thing is that we do need to put a bit more structure into the activity that's on the ground, in terms of making sure that they have access, so that we can keep communicating and getting stuff done. Just wanted to clarify that. Sorry.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that there's an eagerness as well. So there's a spirit, you know, right now. People are excited about it, you know, not only in the Cardano community and in other communities, but also on the continent itself, you know. And it's a I can't remember exactly what the numbers are, but I think the average age on the continent is like 19 or something like that. So, you know, when you think about, you know, all of these folks having an opportunity to participate in this economy, this world economy that's just growing in general, and, you know, with the goods and services that they're able to provide, there's definitely an eagerness there.
And also the idea of countries. For the moment, Africa is organized in terms of countries, but I can tell you, in my experience in the diaspora and in other groups, I had never been in a more diverse community than Cardano. Usually what we do, it's usually whether you all speak French or you all speak English, but in Cardano, I think even those countries, those barriers, those frontiers, the political location of a country makes it even harder to work with other Africans. But with Cardano, I'm finding it much easier than in other kind of trade or any other kind, because even for schooling, when we want to collaborate with a country like Burundi, even the number of years or the number of cycles you have for the degree do not match, let alone even some other aspects of the visas and some other issues. So everything takes longer. So with Cardano and blockchain, I'm sure certain barriers are going to be broken, and Africans in general will not even talk about different countries. No, somebody who works with somebody in Ghana on Cardano won't even have any feeling of being far from that person, because already we are kind of working together in a level which I have never seen in any other project.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I would just like to add to that. You know, what I've started to get excited about lately is somebody nobody here knows grabbed me on the Discord server recently and said, you know, I think you should go speak to Native Americans. And as soon as she said Native Americans, it was like a light bulb went off in my head, because, you know, in talking to Mercy and Genty and everybody in the WADA team, what I've started to realize is these kind of national and tribal differences, they matter less and less. And ever since this friend of mine said this to me, you know, and I've been trying to research and kind of get a feeling for, the situation for Native Americans in the United States at the least. And, you know, they collaborate, right? These different tribes in North America, they collaborate now, whereas, you know, 100, 150 years ago, they never would have thought about it, but they're all in the same boat, you know, and they need one another and they help one another. And that's why I really got excited after thinking about it a while that yeah, I think she's right. You know, if not me, somebody needs to represent the concept of this technology to Native Americans, because they have every reason to grab onto something like this, and nothing but the same old if they don't, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way, you know. Obviously I think the Africans are in the same situation, you know, like this is a chance to really jump, you know, like really jump in terms of possibilities for themselves. And, you know, like Sidney pointed out, you know, with that statistic about the age of the African pop, you know, 60% is a statistic I heard. 60% of the population in Africa is under 30. You know, what do they have to look forward to if things remain the same? And I don't think they want it to remain the same. So I think this is the opportunity that we can offer.
Yeah, the community in Cardano is special. Obviously, I'm a bit biased when I say that, but that bias didn't come out of nowhere. Like this community is like it's crazy. And the one thing I like particular about Cardano is this dream of changing the world. Like it's not just a technology, it's not just a this tool that we can use to do commerce with each other globally. There is like it's driven by the why as opposed to the what and the how. And to me, that really resonates with me, the why. And Charles Hoskinson is obviously really good at he's really good at communicating that dream, and I think that's what sold me. And I think a lot of people with Cardano share that. Like you talk to them about, you know, what we're doing, and I've been in groups on other cryptos, kind of sussing everything out, and it's always talking about, you know, the price go up, price go down type thing. But like you speak to people in Cardano, it's like, oh yeah, we're trying to change the world. We're trying to bring access, like connecting the unconnected, and like it's coming from a different place. Obviously, we like price go up, price go down, like everyone. Where that's kind of interesting. But what's more interesting, I find, within the Cardano community is this deeper mission.
And it's a testament to Charles, right? Because Charles could talk about anything that he wants to under the sun. You know what I mean? He's building Cardano. I mean, he really can. You know what I mean? He's free to talk about whatever it is that he wants to talk about, and he talks about these things. So he's injected that into the conversation. So we're all coming together, you know, you and the rest of us, like in the Cardano community, because we do share that dream. That's something that's important to us. Number can go up and go down, and it's going to happen. A lot of people are going to get paid. They already have, you know, but like, because there's other founders of projects, right? And you can get an idea of what that project is going to be about by just listening to the founders, you know. So Charles has, you know, this has been something that's, you know, dear to him, and I think that he's really done a good job of staying, you know, true to his principles and building something out. And that's another thing too. It's like we're going through the process of Cardano being built out, so we're experiencing the substance of the protocol. You know what I mean? So we're gonna know more than other people because we've been here for like ever, you know. And like what this has been, and the updates, and just all of it, you know, and the strength of the protocol. So yeah, I think we're all here because you know, he's painting that vision. I think we think it's a really good vision, and you know, want to draw more people into it, and it's going to happen. You know, right now it's just a matter of time. You know, we have a lot of momentum in that direction.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how. I've got a couple more questions. Have you guys got maybe 5 minutes still?
Yes,
Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. I love talking about that stuff. First of all, that gets me excited every single time. It's morning here, so after this podcast, I'm gonna, I'm inspired to do more work. All right. Speaking of work, we've got a lot of work to do. but I imagine there's got to be a bit of friction along the way. For this particular project, what are some roadblocks that you see potentially in the future that WADA will have to overcome to realize its full potential? Like, do you envision any particular obstacles that you're anticipating?
Yeah, sure. And I think, like for me, I mean, like getting drawn into the WADA dynamic was a relief for me, because, most of last year I spent wondering, like Charles and his, he threatened the community with an Africa special for, God, it seemed like forever, right? And then when he announced it, it was like, okay, that's great. Well, what's that mean, right? Like he's got to go to 50, he's only got to go to 53 more countries to make a deal, and I was like, man, that's not happening, like that's too slow. I ain't got time for that, I mean, me, and I mean, I'm just a guy here, but I'm like, this shit's got to happen faster than that, and then here's WADA, and I think it is that perfect synergy of, like, Charles can get the attention of the head of a state, that's great. What's that do for people on the ground, but that's WADA, and this is kind of like what we can do, we can start on the ground. We want to start on the ground because, everybody in this room, Genty and Mercy, and, everybody's got family, got friends, got connections on the ground in Africa. They don't want to wait for Charles to get work their way to Cameroon. But that's the beauty of the Cardano protocol. It's that, like, we can pay for that growth from the ground up. So that when and if like deals are made with these nation states, that they actually take those larger systems and actually blockchain them. People on the ground will know what's happening, right? Like they made their deal with Ethiopia, but I guarantee you 99% of the Ethiopians don't know anything about it or what it even means if they do know about it, right? But that's kind of what we do. We talk about this, we spread it around, and that's the point of saying to the community, we need this stuff, like we need an office, like we need a real internet connection. We need power that doesn't go out, and because that's what they all labor under everywhere, even in these big cities in Nigeria, like they have brownouts all the time. You can't do blockchain when you got brownouts going on. You gotta have power. You got to make sure that it's uninterruptible. And there's stuff going on that needs the Cardano community support. I mean, that's why I'm involved. And that's kind of what I argue for all the time. So
to add to that, like in our blue sky, we don't have any limitations when it comes to funding, right? Because then we're able to, get people working on this sort of full-time or near full-time, and people are able to plan, both, as we've all said, the Cardano community is just the most generous, brilliant, skilled people that are willing to help. And a lot of them have donated a lot of their time to help, WADA be where it is now. But it comes to a point where we need, more certainty in terms of, okay, this person is here to work on this thing consistently for, say, 1 year, right? And these are the deliverables. Or even to go on the ground, these people are on the ground, this group of people, and we commit to them for a year, and we know that they're able to do this work, consistently for a year. And that's how they draw in the volunteers. Steve has said, that's how they pull in their network. So I think that funding could be a big issue for us, especially, and as I've said, Catalyst was a big initiator for us, absolutely. Having said that, the way that Catalyst is set up is that you are more likely to win funding when the amount that you are asking is not that much. Steve will tell you that we had a lot of conversations, even for us to sort of agree that we should, settle around 100K for planting roots in Africa. So yeah, I think that will always be a challenge. And I think that at this point, I hope that we have proved ourselves to the Cardano community to the extent that they are willing to trust us with more funding to be able to get the work done on a consistent basis. So just so we are not just going around and begging for labor, inconsistent labor, so to speak. So that's what I would say in terms of the barriers that we foresee.
Yeah. Okay. And so this is a ground up approach, I guess. So you're saying working on the ground, you're kind of addressing the problem at the roots and then working outwards from there, as opposed from kind of the outside in, which is the approach that I like. It's often a bit harder and maybe a bit longer, but the solution is more thorough, and it actually addresses a root problem as opposed to just putting a band-aid on it. Like, to me, you're trying to solve the root of the problem, which is really important.
To actually even define the environment, Steve was mentioning, we have to insist on repeating as to how the environment is, because certain setups in Africa may not be familiar to somebody who is not living those. Saying that the electricity is an issue, if somebody else can tell you, like, how can electricity not be available? So we have to kind of explain that the first step is to put in like the road before you actually start welcoming the cars.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Very true.
And imagine what that's like. I mean, imagine what that's going to seem like. I mean, in terms of, we get hubs on the ground and we've got good power for those hubs, right? Yeah. And we've got like the Starlink internet access, right? And then these Cardano hubs can just say, hey, come on over, have a cup of coffee. We'll talk to you about blockchain. You need to talk to your brother or your sister in North America or Europe. You can do that here. Right, it's no big deal because we got that covered, right? And Cardano's made that possible for you. That's like gold. I mean, that in terms of like reputation on the ground, in terms of public relations for the rest, for the whole community. The businesses will see that, because they'll be like, hey, like why can't I do that in my restaurant? Right? You could.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we got to show you how, and we could show you a lot of other stuff too, that's actually got something applicable to blockchain.
Yeah. Love this chat so far. And I think people listening will hopefully be inspired, and I'm sure a lot of them will want to connect with you guys and support where they can. So for those people, how can they connect with you, support your work, and even get involved in some way?
So where are you gonna go ahead, Mercy?
No, Sidney, you go.
No, I was just gonna say our website, WADA Alliance, and then we can go ahead and put that in the chat there. That way you'll have that. Maybe you can put it under the video. But yeah, get in touch with us there, and we're continually we're building things out. So the website, they'll be able to get a lot of information there, and then we're going to be offering ways for them to kind of take a membership in what it is that we're doing, and so that we can get more information out, let them know if they have family on the continent, or if they want to assist in some way or have some resources or connections or whatever it might be, they can definitely reach out to us, and we can continue this party.
Mm-hmm. And I can give you Sidney's phone number, right?
Yeah, that'll be in the description.
Yeah. So, my daughter might not like that so much.
And then you're obviously oh, yeah, you go, Mercy, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like on wadaalliance.org, we're on Telegram, we're on Discord, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. We are very active on Twitter. If you reach out to us, we are very, very responsive.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll need to join your Discord. I haven't joined your Discord, but I'm following you elsewhere.
Thank you.
And also, for those that have registered for Project Catalyst, support by voting for you guys.
Yes.
Read the proposal, and like you mentioned, the biggest hurdle at the moment is probably the funding to put all these actions, all these ideas into action. And fortunately for Cardano, we have a built-in launchpad that it's native to the blockchain, and people can actually vote on good ideas, and they actually get real money to do real things. So hop on there, vote for these guys. It's a big way that you can help support. The last question that I have, and I'm not sure how we're going to do this, because normally I just ask it to one person, but either like anyone can answer it on one person, or if you guys all want to, whatever. But to finish up on, I like to ask the people what excites them the most about Cardano, because for me, I always kind of very like trying to change the world and stuff like that. And people often have very passionate views on kind of what excites them the most, because there's heaps of things to be excited about. So does one of you, or maybe a couple of you, or
would it be okay if all of us answered
yeah,
that question?
yeah, for sure. That would be my preference. Yeah, what excites you the most about Cardano? Anyone who wants to go first can go first.
Okay, I have a pretty quick answer. I think that if we can keep from shooting ourselves in the foot, what we have is an opportunity to make having money a non-issue.
Interesting.
For me, what excites me most about Cardano is just the community. And I think it goes back to what Sidney said, you know, sometimes it's just the words that have been spoken by Charles, it just attracted a certain kind of people. And those people are good people, and they are thoughtful people. And I'm just excited about the community.
For me, it's the free ownership. It's an enterprise for which you can contribute freely, and you can give as much as you want to give. And when you talk about it, you don't need some copyright notices to put on the notice. You really own it. And for Cardano in particular, I think I own it a bit more because even when, for example, Charles talks about what are the benefits, he explains something which I know it's actually beneficial for me. Like I kind of can't wait for it to happen because I know once it happens, again, I won't ask for permission. I will just use it. Yeah.
Love that. I think for me, it's the infrastructure. You know, I talk about this quite a bit. It's just a time for me. It's a time for dreaming, because if you look at the projects that are in Cardano, you look at the projects that are in the ecosystem in general, there's a lot of creativity in the ecosystem. Some of the projects that I see, you know, the types of things that people are thinking about, how they're solving the problems, all of those types of things, I think it's really amazing. And I really do. I believe it's a time for this kind of a time for dreaming now, because like whatever we kind of dream of right now, like there's an infrastructure in place to support it. You know, like if if your dream is to, you know, feed all of the people in the world, you know what I mean? That's a pretty big one. Like just 10 years ago, it was like, yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, right. Feed all of the people in the world. But, you know, now that infrastructure is actually in place to be able to facilitate that type of management. You know what I mean? So I really do. I think it's a time for you know, dreaming and dreaming big, and really recognizing that kind of the infrastructure is in place for us to fix a lot of the problems we've been talking about for you know, centuries and more. Yeah.
I love it. I like what you said. It's a time to dream. This is the time. And just quickly to add to a couple of things that you just said, I personally believe that humans are innately kind. There's often a lot of external forces which may express in unkind ways, but I think intrinsically we're kind humans. And I think a big issue that we have is we don't have the infrastructure, like you say, to really streamline and facilitate that kindness. So if we have this infrastructure that enables that, where it removes a lot of the friction for someone to actually be kind to one another, then they will be kind to one another.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
that is really exciting, because this is literally a technology that will enable a lot of that. It will facilitate a lot of that kindness, and will allow humans to actually be kind, which is intrinsically, in my opinion, what we are.
Right. That's funny, you know, I really appreciate that, because I was in a conversation earlier today with somebody, and what we were talking about was the fact that our current systems, you know, at least in the Western world, are kind of designed to keep our reptilian brain engaged all the time, right? You're always in a state of this false sense of competition, this false sense of fight or flight, you know, and it's subtle, it's low grade, but it's there, right? You know, it's there on every level of our economy, that you've got to, you know, and it's partly, it's kind of pressure from economics, you know, that we deal with fiat, which is inflationary. So your money's always becoming worth less. And, you know, it doesn't have to be that way, right? It's all an abstract, artificially constructed system, and we could just as easily make one different, and somebody has.